Welcome to the Booktopia podcast. I am Sarah McDuling and I am pretty much giddy with glee, as I always am when I get to speak to the amazing Candice Fox.
Hooray, it's me. I'm back again.
We were saying before we started recording that you were one of the last people to come in and sign books and do a podcast with us before the pandemic hit.
Yes.
So this is kind of a bookending situation. Like
It
a lot
is.
has happened in between visits.
Yeah, it's not been fun. Nobody wants a pandemic.
No.
They make an excellent movie, pandemics and outbreaks and mass crises, but they're not
Less
that much
fun in real life.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah.
You are here today to be talking to us about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is this number 15 of your
I
books?
think it is, yeah.
Called The Chase.
Yeah, The Chase.
Which I have loved, as I love all your books, and we'll get to my feelings later. But while but while we're here at the beginning of the podcast, if you could just outline for the people listening who haven't had a chance to read this yet, what is The Chase about?
The Chase is about a mass outbreak from a prison in the Nevada desert. So 653 inmates break out, basically someone breaks them out, a terrorist group. And so you follow a bunch of key people. So there is the death row supervisor, Celine Osborne. Obviously this is her worst nightmare because she knows who is on her row and how bad they are, and they are all running free now. John Cradle is a man who has been on death row for the murder of his wife and sister-in-law and son, and he is out to prove his innocence. And Celine has very personal reasons for hating his guts. And we've got Trinity Parker, who is the US Marshal, head of the US Marshal Service, who's been assigned to the cleanup effort. And then I go into a bunch of other characters just because how can you not have fun with all of these inmates right outside Vegas? They are heading in to have a really good time. And so there's a bunch of other characters too.
It is a really actually big cast of characters. It feels like a really big... I got to the end of the book and I sort of felt like I'd watched a whole TV series. Okay. Or like a or a movie, I guess. But it's like a big cast. You could imagine it with star-studded actors. And yeah, I guess
you.
653 dangerous criminals out on the loose is a rich storytelling ground. And can I ask, because I feel like when I was reading, there are a lot of inspirations from both like fictional stuff and real stuff that I detected in there. So I just wanted to quiz you a bit about those. I thought there was some inspiration in there from The Fugitive.
Yes, I love The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And I drop lines from The Fugitive in my life, in my relationship with Tim, because he also loves The Fugitive. I just watched that movie a million times when I was a kid, and I mention it in the book a couple of times. And I have a story about The Fugitive.
Yeah,
because,
I love a story from you.
There's a bit in it where Harrison Ford is talking to the guys, the investigators, and he's saying, you know, I didn't kill my wife. A man with a one-armed man killed my wife. And he says, you find that man. And it's just one of those key lines. Like everyone knows the Tommy Lee Jones, I want a hard target search of every doghouse, hen house, outhouse. But you find that man is something that Tim and I will say to each other sometimes. And so when I was having my daughter, when I was in the delivery room with, you know, having my daughter Violet, I said to them, can I have an epidural about 10 minutes into labour? You know, I said to Tim, I'm open about with the idea of not having drugs. I want to know what this, you know, labour pain is like. I've been hearing it all my life. So after, you know, how bad it is. So after 10 minutes I said, epidural, please. And they said, no, you can't have one. So they were saying that for a while. They were saying, no, you can't have one. No, your blood pressure's too high. No, blah, blah, blah. And after a while they said, you might be able to have one. We're just trying to find the guy who will give it to you. And I turned to Tim and I said, you find that man. And he got it. And the rest of the people in the room, there's about 20 people in the room because I had so much trouble, blood pressure and all this stuff. They were just like, is she okay? And I was just like, yeah.
I cannot tell
Fugitive,
you how
you gotta see
delightful
it.
that is to know that in the middle of labour you had time for a Fugitive-based joke.
Yes. I cracked a couple of jokes, but the rest of it was just screaming. I got suddenly religious. I am not a religious person, but I was like, pray with me, Tim, pray with me, please, God. It's not, I was not stoic at all.
Were you... So... but your daughter is how old now?
She is 19 months.
Right.
And she's got about 100 words, and within those 100 words are bullet, murder, and stab.
You're raising a little crime writer?
I didn't teach her any of those. I didn't. She was at the high chair. She's sitting in a high chair one time watching cartoons, and she just turned to me, looked me dead in the eyes, and she goes, bullet. And I was like, okay, that's creepy. That's weird. And then she was trying to say bird. She loves birds, and she's going, bird, 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 and looking at a picture of a bird. And I said, it's bird, bird. And then it was Christmas Day the next day, so I go around the in-laws' place, and she's running around going, murder, murder, murder. And everyone looks at me and they're like, Candice,
what are
really?
you teaching this
I
child?
said, she's saying bird. And then maybe a week ago she had a pencil, and her dad was holding her, Tim was holding her, and she went, stab, stab, stab. And
I
was
love
like,
this.
Oh, Violet.
Child after your own heart.
Yes. She's my baby. She's, where did you learn the word stab? Stab, stab, stab.
I can't think where she would pick it up. Mystery, real mystery.
It's a mystery, yeah.
What's the experience of writing like now as a mother of a young child versus pre-motherhood?
Yeah, it's okay for me because I've always been someone who has to squeeze my writing in wherever I can. Like when I was a kid, I started taking writing very seriously in my teen years, and you know, my mum had the 6 kids, and then she fostered 155 kids as I was growing up, and so the house was chaotic, and it's like you have 20 minutes to do whatever you want before this is happening or that's happening or blah blah blah, you know. So I can do it like that. You know, Violet's having a nap, bang, go and do it. And I know that that's kind of very, very useful because I know other writers who are like, I have to be in a certain chair and I have to be in a certain room and I have to have eaten a certain meal or I have to wear my character's clothes or whatever to get... Yeah, I have heard that.
Especially like that last one.
Yeah, or I have to go around the house acting like my character before.
It must be the stroke of midnight.
Yes.
And 23 degrees and...
Yes, exactly. Or I have to have soundproof earphones on my head or whatever. I'm like, no.
Not you.
No.
Wherever you get a chance.
Yeah. When I was working in bars in my early 20s, I used to print out a big blank receipt from the till and I used to write on the receipt. And when I was breastfeeding Violet in the middle of the night, I wrote a horror screenplay because you can write a screenplay. They've got screenplay running apps.
I'm sorry, it's just a funny image. The miracle of life. I might just write a horror story while this is going on.
It's the riddle. Oh, you know, for the first 3 times you breastfeed, it's the miracle of life, and then after that, it's like
horror.
Just check my Instagram, you know, whatever. Yeah, no, multitasking.
Well, circling back to inspirations for the chase, because we got a bit diverted, delightfully.
Yeah.
I also found myself thinking of the show Prison Break, just because there are so many criminals out in the desert on the loose.
Yeah.
And a movie that I hadn't thought about or seen for a long time, but felt compelled to revisit after the chase, which was Con Air. Con Air
is another one that I watched a million, and I sometimes say, why didn't you put the bonnet back in the box? And things like that. Yes, that is a wonderful film because it's just so much fun.
It is.
Why not? Why not?
It's wild and big and just bombastic, and so is the chase. The chase is just, and it's non-stop. Like
Yes,
there's so
yeah.
many characters to follow. There's so much going on. There's such high stakes.
I like to challenge myself as a writer. This is the thing. Like I have done quiet, steamy, sinister cast of 5 people novels, and I say to myself, what have I not done? I have not done an action-packed cast of 100, explosions and gunshots and running, and I want people to look at me and look at my books on the shelf and say, I don't know what I'm going to get. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous as a writer, because customers come back because they want to see the same thing every time. Sometimes, like your Harry Bosch fans and your Jack Reacher fans, I want it to be exact. It's like McDonald's. I want it to be exactly the way I like it, So some people might go, this is too fast for me. I prefer her steamier stuff or whatever. But I'm trying to bring out a novel every 9 months or something, so you can wait maybe, and I'll get steamier next time, or I'll get mid-level next time. And
well, I mean, given how hugely successful every one of your books is, I don't think people are complaining that you switch it up a bit. And I can only speak for myself as a reader of your books, but I find that though you may radically change plot style and location and cast size and all of that, there's still a very strong flavour to a Candice Fox novel. So, like, regardless whether you're writing a tight cast and suspenseful or a huge blockbuster like The Chase, I go in, I expect amazing dialogue, I expect some quirky, amusing characters, and you always deliver that, and I love that so much about your book.
Thank you.
And it's clear and present in The Chase.
Yeah. Everyone's different. This is the thing. I hate it when you pick up a book and it's like the cast, it's 5 white guys, and their name, they all have chestnut brown hair and meridian sapphire blue eyes. And
Meridian sapphire.
and their names are David, Luke, Matt, and it's like, how do I tell the difference between all these
Impossible.
guys?
They all just blend together.
Yeah.
Not so in your books.
No, I just want everyone to be different again, and I like. So one of the joys of being an author is bringing out a book and people saying, oh, I loved Ada, she's my favourite, or I love Celine, she's my favourite, or whatever, whoever it is. And
I'm kind of split between Celine and Cradle, to be honest.
Oh,
I
that's
felt
good.
that they're both such great characters, separately, as they're not in the same scenes a lot in this, but their stories are very much propelled or intertwined.
Yes.
But in the occasions where you do see them together, or they're reminiscing about interactions they've had in the past, it was amazing. Like I don't want to be spoilery, but I guess it's not too spoilery to say that John Cradle is a prisoner and Celine is a prison warden, and that they have kind of a battle.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a prank war.
Yeah, prank war. That's what I was trying to do. Like, because they get off on the wrong foot for reasons.
Good reasons.
But yeah, understandable reasons. As soon as he arrives at the prison, it is on between the two of them. She hates him, and her colleagues say to her, you hate him even worse than the guy that ate all those ladies' faces, and you hate him even worse than this inmate and that inmate. And she's like, I hate his guts.
And for her, it's personal.
It's personal, yeah. And he knows that and is not afraid to just mess with her and make her life hard. And I have had some experience with people in prison, particularly death row inmates. And I just think, how do you exist without entertaining yourself in that way? And I've heard from prison guards that the inmates are just so focused on you because you are an outsider. The officers leave the prison and they come back, so it's like they go to another planet. So it's like
their only connection to the outside.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you live out there? What do you do? Who do you know? And they try to get all involved in your life, and it's creepy and it's hard.
That would be a difficult job.
Yeah, so Cradle's one of his things that he entertains himself with in his cell, which is locked in for 23 hours a day. as most death row inmates in the US are, is just to mess with her.
Find very creative ways to really piss her off.
Yeah.
I loved that, and look, like all of the characters in this book are amazing. Grace is another really amazing character. There's, you already mentioned Trinity. There's a really scary serial killer, a strangler who gloms onto Cradle. That's an interesting character.
He's fun.
I just loved the idea of how, here's this guy and he's unexpectedly out of prison and he's got this chance to, potentially like clear his name. And suddenly he's forced into this bizarre road trip situation where he has an actual really dangerous serial killer who could at any moment kill him or any passerby. Yeah. And he's got to babysit him, and I loved it. It was
it was fun to write Homer. Homer Carrington is the serial killer that sort of latches on to Cradle just when he's breaking free. And I'm always trying to defy the stereotypes, because people expect you're a very intelligent Hannibal Lecter, cold, callous type when they talk about serial killers. But Homer is, I was trying to channel like a Labrador. Have you seen, what is it called? Bojack Horseman?
Yes. I love that show. Yeah.
Who's the Labrador?
Mr. Peanut Butter.
Mr. Peanut Butter, yeah. He's kind of like that. He's sort of cheerful and he just wants to be friends. He just wants to be friends with Cradle, and
he wants to be liked.
He wants to be
loved. And he also wants to kill you.
Yes. It's the same with, I met Lawrence Bittaker, the serial killer, in real life. I went to death row and visited him. And he was the same. He was just like, love me. I'm misunderstood. I'm a poor misunderstood creature. I didn't mean to kill all those women. I'm really a nice guy. It's like, not really though, not really. And it's just, it's a sickening kind of a disguise to put on, because your Hannibal Lecter type, he owns it. He's like, I ate his liver with some Chianti, and I own what I'm doing.
Fava beans.
Yes.
I think we're used to seeing that portrayal more than we are this affable, surface charming.
Yeah, needy. It's very needy. Ted Bundy was a very needy man who just wanted to be loved by everyone. And you see that in his interviews before his execution. He's trying to convince this journalist that I'm really a very nice guy. And
it was all kind of just a misunderstanding, and it wasn't really, really my fault.
Yeah, Lawrence said to me, for 33 years of my life, I was this great guy. I had all these friends. Everyone loved me, and law-abiding citizen, and all this, wouldn't hurt a fly. And then I went through this. He called it a phase, a chapter, 3-month chapter, where I killed 5 young girls.
And it was just a blip in his mind.
Yeah, he's like, and then 38 years since then, same thing. Great guy, have lots of friends in here. I obey the laws of the prison. He said, so if you look at my life as a whole, really,
my God.
And I'm sort of thinking to myself, it's not really, that's not really
how it works. You can't look at it like that. No. Only a psychopath can look at it like that.
But all they have to do is sit in their cells all day long and think about ways they can manipulate people. And he's trying it on me. He's saying, just see it from my perspective. Come on.
Just a tiny little momentary lapse.
And that's all I'm known for, is being a serial killer.
I have to carry that through the rest of my life.
Yes.
You got to feel sorry for him. It's wild to me that you met him. It's like I often, so often when I encounter someone who has not ever read one of your books, and I'm like filled with this kind of determination to get them addicted to your books. But it happened the other day that one of my colleagues was like, Candice Fox is coming tomorrow. I haven't read one of her books. And then unfortunately she was subjected to I don't think it was unfortunate. I think it was fascinating, but I don't think she got a word in edgewise for about 20 minutes while I went through, outlined the basics of each of your series, explained why they're so good, and then retold the stories that you've told us about going to meeting serial killers and going to prisons. And I mean, we've had a lot of people come through here. I certainly haven't spoken to every crime writer, but like we've spoken to a fair few amount of crime writers. Is it common for people to have done that, or are you like one of the few writers who have done that?
I don't know. There is a writer. I think her name is Amanda Hammond, and she's a serial killer connoisseur. She's met a bunch of them, and she's written to like 500 of them.
Wow.
But for me, it's not as though I set out. I set out to do these things. It's just being a crime writer, it's not weird for me to do crimey sorts of things. So going and meeting a serial killer or visiting body dumping sites on my honeymoon or going to Lithgow maximum security prison and getting a tour, it's not weird. People go, she's
it's
a
on
crime
brand.
writer. But it's the kind of thing that I would, if I wasn't a crime writer, I would probably love to do that anyway.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know? My mum used to drive us out into the Belangolo State Forest and tell us about Ivan Milat and in the night and turn the lights off and try to scare the shit out of us when we were kids. And so she is someone who does weird, crimey things. She was writing to 20 prison inmates at the same time at one point. She just started writing to them, and she got up to 20, and she said, I can't keep these guys straight. I don't know.
Oh my God. Sidebar question. What were your first words, Candice?
I don't even know. I have a story about that. My mum was writing to all these prison inmates, and I must have been pretty small. I must have been, because I was doing like a public speaking course, and I remember, just being a kid and all the kids there. So, I'm going to say I was like 8 or 9. Anyway, so Mum had been writing to all these prison inmates, and I went into her room, and they would send her things. They would make her bits of art.
Wow.
And she had this bit of art from this guy, and at the bottom of the bit of art it said Noel, Noal, Noel. And I said, what's Noel? And she said, it's his name. And I said, Noel, that's a funny name, Noel. I've never heard that before. So it just lodged in my mind. Anyway, I went to the activity centre, and I was doing the things, and all these adults were there, and they had name tags. And I said, this is weeks later. I said to Mum, there's a guy in there named Noel. Like, I've seen the name again. And she looked through the window and she went, oh my God, it's him. And it was him. And he'd gotten out. She'd stopped writing to him or whatever. He'd gotten out, and he was there surrounded by, he's a pedophile.
Oh my God.
Because she had written, and there was this program where you write and they don't tell you what the inmate has done. They set up the pen pal thing. Yeah, but she said she would always ask, and they would always tell her. Yeah, okay. And she looked through the window and she's like, oh my God. So she had to go to the manager and say, that guy just got out of prison, and and yeah.
That is wild. I love
wild.
the stories you tell so much, particularly the ones featuring your mom. But that's like a kind of twist on that. Most people are like, oh no, I've run into an ex that I don't want to talk to. And in your mom's case, it's like, oh no, I've run into a criminal that I wrote letters to.
Yes.
And everyone...
Had his name been something random, like ordinary though, like Matt or something, I would never
have made the connection.
And
it's good that you did, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously wasn't supposed to be around all those kids.
No.
And he's just gone and done it, and then the name
terrifying.
tag. Never put a name tag on.
Or do, because in this case it was very lucky. Unless you're trying to get away with a crime.
Yes.
I love your stories. I love the stories that you write. I love the stories that you tell. Are you able to? Oh well, okay. Before I get to the question I was about to ask, I'm just going to veer off back to our other question that I keep abandoning, which was, so we've covered the fictional things that maybe possibly inspired the chase. But there's also a lot of references to real crimes or like crimes in this book that seem similar to well-known crimes.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I want to talk a bit about those, like the
yeah. That's a bit of a spoiler, though. Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a spoiler, though.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a spoiler, though. Oh, not if we don't say who it's connected to.
Yeah, okay.
Or maybe we'll just leave it at that. Tantalising, there will be reference to that in the book in some way that you couldn't possibly know. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I watched that documentary. There's a documentary on it on Netflix, and I went, "Oh, I love that. Can I use that?"
Yeah. It's an interesting and very sad story. But
yes.
And the general instances of family annihilation.
Family annihilation is something that has fascinated me for a very long time, and I've wanted to write about it. I go through phases of questioning criminality. What made you do this? What makes you do that? And my current obsession is con men. I'm very interested in con men, but family annihilation is something that really puzzles me. It's usually men, but sometimes women will just go, "That's it, I'm killing everyone, the whole family." And there was a guy in France who I did a deep dive into that case. He murdered his wife and his 3 sons and, buried them and then disappeared. And then the Chris Watts case, I did a deep dive into that where he murdered his wife, Shanann, and their 2 little girls. And I just think to myself, it's so arrogant to believe that I want to end this family so they cannot possibly go on existing.
Yeah.
There's a certain arrogance to murder, and it's possessiveness in that sense.
And this weird, it's just such an unthinkable thing, I think. It's easier just to understand someone who's driven by rage or
yes.
But this, while this I'm sure is driven by rage in some way, it's less understandable.
It's often planned, really coldly planned for a very long time, and then they do it and they go, "This is the day." And I have so many questions about that. What makes the day that you do it? What makes that day the day? And how dare you believe that you have the right to, that these children and wife and usually a family dog are your possessions and you decide whether they live or die. And how do you go on existing after you've done that? What is your plan?
And
you're just...
Yeah, the horrible thing that you often hear in cases like this where it's they truly, on some level, believe that it's mercy.
Yes.
The arrogance of that and the narcissism of that. I can't look after you anymore, or I can't carry this family anymore, therefore you should just be set free.
Yes.
It's horrible.
Yeah. So in this book, I have all those questions, and then I was interested in survivors of that situation. How do they carry on? Because you almost never hear about it. And so the family annihilator in this case has let one member of the family survive, and she is asking herself, why did you let me survive? And she goes, it's a very brave thing for her to do, she goes to confront him and say, why did you let me survive? And his reason that he gives her is so unsatisfactory. I think that's the challenge whenever you're talking about homicide, is sometimes you just don't get answers. When I was talking to Lawrence, and that was my question, why did you kill all these girls? And I kept posing it to him, I kept throwing it, and it was just like throwing a ball against the wall. It would just come back.
Because there's no good answer.
There's no good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
there's never a satisfying answer for it. It's always messed up. And
his answers were, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't my idea, I try not to think about it, blah, blah, blah. There was no real, so it's that frustration of not having answers that I was toying with.
Yeah, it's a really interesting, it's an interesting question. You raised a lot of things in this book actually that I found thought-provoking, which is interesting as well because it's such a fast-paced book and you don't really have that much time to have thoughts that aren't directly to do with what's happening on page. But it sparks off little thought processes, like I'm going to keep character names out of this and be vague to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
But like the nature of evil and recognizing evil and the way people present themselves, I thought was interestingly shown in this, because you've got sort of two characters, and one of them, you know, like, you know that thing, you should never trust anyone who says, oh, I'm a bad guy, because like people who say that generally kind of are bad people, but they are trying to charm you by owning that they're bad, and then get you to feel that you alone understand them or whatever. So like people who present bad people who like get away with being bad by being honestly bad, like it's just it's interesting. And then you have people who the entire world may see as bad, who don't bother to defend themselves, because
it's Celine is sort of the center of this book, and her major challenge throughout it, like I think that the measure of any good book is how the main character grows and develops and changes and is challenged. And her major challenge in this book is trying to come up with the idea that, you know,
can you trust your instincts?
Yeah, her radar is off. You know, she thought she knew who the bad people were in her own family, on her row, in her relationships, and suddenly she goes, oh my God, I don't know who's good and bad. I don't know who I'm letting into my world here and who I'm rejecting. And that's really confronting. I think it kind of goes up to my divorce, actually. It's weird how things are inspired. But I was in a relationship that ended in divorce. I was married, and something, I want to be vague, something was revealed in that relationship to me, and I was sitting across the table from someone who I was married to, who I'd been with for about 7 years, and then suddenly, as soon as he said it, I thought, I don't know you at all.
Oh my God.
I don't know you at all.
Wow.
You know, and I was sitting across the room from a stranger. And not only is it like that person that I thought I knew died right in front of me, but I'm like, who is this? You know?
And now, how do you trust yourself now?
Yes, because I don't know who anyone is. Yeah. And then you go into relationships after that, and you're meeting new guys, and you're saying, oh, do I want to be with this person or not? And you've just proven to yourself that you don't know anything about anyone in a really dangerous way, you know, because you're letting them into your life and all this. And it was a terrifying time for me.
That's frightening.
Yeah, it was really like the floor just went out from underneath me there, and I thought, I don't know anyone. My radar is obviously so completely off. And that's day to day. It's, you know, a man comes to the door and he says, oh, yep, yeah, you called my number for some landscaping for a quote, and you go, oh, yeah, and you do all those micro assessments. You think, oh, he looks okay and he seems nice and he must have got my number. I'll let him into my house while I'm here alone.
Oh my God.
And if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know anyone. I don't know what makes a good person and what makes a bad person. That's when life gets really scary.
Yeah, how are you supposed to go on up when you can't trust your own judgment and when you're second guessing everything?
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done in this book, because the slippery nature of people, and how well you can ever really know anyone.
Yes.
And if you are a person, you know, who's got terrible stuff going on under the surface, how easily you can trick people or...
Yes.
I don't know, it's fascinating.
I find, so there's con men. And it was fun coming up with a con man in this novel, and I'm doing another con man in the novel I'm writing right now. It's so fun to think of the little games and things that you can play with people if you're a con man character, or coming up with cons. Like I bought this slow cooker, and I
can't
took it
wait
home.
to hear how a slow cooker is going to be involved in a con story.
Yeah,
Continue.
well, there's a con in there that I kind of got from buying a slow cooker. So I bought this slow cooker, and slow cookers terrify me because I just see them exploding and killing me, and I've never had one before, and just all the burning soup going all over me. I'm terrified.
Yes, I can see how they'd be much scarier than a serial killer, for example.
I just don't like them. I don't like you. People actually do make bombs out of slow cookers. It's because you can make them explode. Yeah, the pressure cookers. Pressure cookers is what I'm meaning, not slow cooker. Pressure cooker.
Wow, okay.
So because you clamp the lid on, and you build all the pressure and all the heat and everything under pressure.
Yeah.
And then that's what cooks the stuff so fast.
But
and
it's
then you
also-
let the steam out, and then you open it. But if you haven't let the steam out properly, then it's still under pressure. So if you open it, then
Explosion.
it'll explode hot soup all over you.
Oh, God.
So my mother-in-law has a pressure cooker, and it's got like it's an old one. It's got like a big old clamp like this. And when it's cooking, it goes like that, like a bomb. And I say to Violet, just get out of the kitchen while your gran is doing that. Anyway, so I bought one of those, and where was I going with this? Anyway, so I took it home and everything.
We're on the subject of cons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I Googled the brand of this pressure cooker, Explosion. And then I saw there's this massive lawsuit in the US about this pressure cooker exploding on people. So I took it back to the store.
Good.
And I marched in there and I said to them, "Did you know you're selling a bomb, and the next person who walks in, and he didn't say it, but his attitude was like, listen, Karen." He gave me a look that just said, "Look, Karen, just pipe down." He was like, there was a particular batch of these pressure cookers that were exploding on people, but this pressure cooker is not from that batch. And
I don't know if I buy it.
I use it, but when I take the steam off, I hold up a tea towel and I go like that, like from about a meter away.
So you did keep it?
Yeah. Anyway, so I was thinking to myself that, because in my mind I'm trying to think scams. How do I come up with a scam? So I feel like. So in the book, there's this situation where he buys a toaster or something. He takes it home and he burns it, and then he brings it back, hopefully with a screaming kid with a big bandage on him, and says, "This exploded and burnt my child," and just picks a young manager who's frazzled and doesn't know what to do, and he comes in at rush hour in the store and creates a scene and all this, and that's the con. You ask for $500 cash, or otherwise you're going to be a lot. Or we'll sue. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just walking around in my life. I'm trying to think of scams.
Dream up.
And then I bought some, that was the other one. I bought some outdoor furniture, and I just rocked up and I said, "Here you go." And I paid the money to this lady who was standing outside a house. And then I got in the car and I thought, how do I know that that's...
It could be anyone's furniture.
Because I never saw her go in the house or come out of the house. And
that is smart.
Yeah, thank you. I thought about
actually, because there is a scammer in The Chase, and there is a point where they kind of rattle off a few things that they did in their career as a con artist, and I found them all fascinating and frightening.
Yeah,
because it's like when someone who does that for a living just calmly explains how they can do it, you see how easy it is.
Yes.
And then it's just a miracle that it doesn't happen to us all every day.
Yes. Yeah. So I was just in con artist mode in my life. This is what it is to be a writer, is to walk around in a certain mode, just waiting and thinking and toying with that,
what could I do? How could I do it?
Yeah. People say to me, what is it like being a writer? How many hours are you at the desk? And I'm like, I'm at the desk for 3 hours a day, but my brain never turns off. I'm watching shows. I'm listening to people's stories.
Gathering things.
Yeah, I'm doing things in my life. Like I'm going and buying some outdoor furniture, and I'm just, can I use this? Can I use this? Can I use this? Can I use this? Whenever something interesting happens, I think, can I use this?
So on some level working all the time.
Yes.
Just not always at the desk.
So if any of the people who pay me are listening, I am always working.
Yes.
You should pay me more. Not really.
So now is the point in the podcast where I ask what's up next. You've tantalizingly already mentioned that you're working on something involving a con artist. Is that all you can say at this point?
That's a novel I'm writing right now. I've just finished an exclusive for Audible fictional podcast about kidnapping. Mm-hmm. That was fun.
Wow.
So that I don't even know when that comes out, but I'm editing that now. And maybe doing a true crime podcast. I'm fishing around with the idea of doing a true crime podcast about a crime. So if anyone's listening and they know what my mother is like, my mother is a very strange woman, and you never know what she's going to come out with. So she just came out with about a month ago the fact that she encountered a real life serial killer.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's just the idea that she would just casually mention this.
She just was just completely, I'll just tease it because I'll do it properly in the podcast if we end up doing it. But it just popped up that my mum encountered a real life serial killer when she was a teenager and the crime is unsolved. And my reaction to that when I heard this, I was like, really? How
long have you been writing now? How long has it been since your first book?
It's about 7 or 8 years. I have been trying to be the number one bloody crime writer in the country, and she has this serial killer in her background that she just hasn't even mentioned.
Just didn't come up.
Literally, it just didn't come up. And then, oh my God, Mum, honestly. And I looked into the case and it's unsolved, and there's all these avenues for investigation. My mum has evidence that she has not revealed to the police and all this, and she's just a barrel of surprises.
Wow.
You never know what she's going to do next. She's like...
Truly, who knows?
You really never know. Never know.
Wow, okay, so she's got this experience in her past.
Yes.
And she's not reported it or anything, and this crime is unsolved.
And it's unsolved.
To this day.
So I reported it to the police because I like the police. A lot of people don't like, crime writers in particular don't like the police, and I'm nervous to meet this policeman, this detective, and have a chat with him, because if he's read any of my work, I do not
Does he know who you are yet?
Yeah, he does,
okay,
yeah. Hopefully he's not sitting around reading my books, because I portray the police very poorly across several novels. So my first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to be like, hi, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about everything that I have made police officers do in all of my novels and how awful they have been. I'm just, we're fishing around with it. We're trying to see, me and my partner, Amy Dale, we partner in crime on this podcast. We're trying to see, is it viable? What can we do? Do we have time? Blah, blah, blah.
I hope you do, because I would listen to that.
Yes.
Very religiously.
Good.
That's very exciting. Breaking news to be continued. Yeah, wow. Wow. Okay, well, we are approaching time. So I will say, Candice, it has been, as always, a huge pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, same.
I look forward to the next time you come and visit for your next book.
Oh, I don't want to go.
You can stay.
I love coming to Booktopia. It's like going to my friend's house. I rock in my thongs and I'm like, hey.
I'm always so delighted. I've been looking. I don't even know if I've told you this, but my job at Booktopia now is for kids' books. So I am working outside of my category at the moment because I can't not.
Oh, that's lovely.
You've got your favourite authors and you can't. I spend most of my day working on kids' books, but if Candice Fox is coming, all bets are off.
Oh, that's so sweet. You're so sweet.
As are you. It's just a love fest. It's lovely to see you. And I woke up this morning, one of the first things I saw was your tweet saying, Booktopia, I'm coming for you. And I was like, yes. Candice Fox Day. Best day of the year.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh, I'm dead now. Call an ambulance. Call the coroner.
We can't be responsible for killing Candice Fox. We can't have that. Revive. And yeah, so thank you so much. And for everyone listening, I highly, highly recommend all of Candice's books, which you can get at your local bookstore or online at Booktopia, and especially recommend her upcoming amazing blockbuster adventure crime novel. What other adjectives can I put in there?
Treasure hunt.
Wild ride.
Wild ride,
yeah. The Chase.
The Chase, yeah.
Out very soon or previously out, depending when you're listening to this podcast.
Yes.
Yeah.
It'll be around. You'll find it.
So thanks so much for listening, everyone, and never stop reading.
Thank you for listening to the Booktopia podcast channel. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on SoundCloud and iTunes for free and get access to hundreds of author discussions, book analysis pieces and more. Or, if your eyes need a workout, head to Booktopia TV on YouTube. Don't forget, for all books featured in this podcast and for access to a whole bunch of other fun content on our blog, head to Booktopia, Australia's local bookstore, at booktopia.com.au.